Iowa busy season is
Just
What could have?
over.
Oh, Brad, what could have possibly been taking up your time? Just trying to get a quarterback?
Yeah, just that.
How annoying is that? Are you pissed that you started this? Are you just
No, not at all. Not at all. It's been one hell of a ride. I'll tell you that. I mean, my book, when the book I come out with, will be very entertaining. I can assure you.
I'm buying that. I'm buying that thing for sure. No, but seriously, there's got to be moments where you sit there and you're just like, what did I get myself into?
Those moments usually happen when I'm talking to an agent who is preaching the accolades of their client and telling me how great they are. If I didn't know any better, I would have thought this person won the Heisman Trophy last year.
They all did.
That's like, oh my gosh.
Now that actually, just that statement makes me cringe a little bit, because to think that these college kids now have agents. I mean, that's
Yeah, it used to be that just maybe your 5-star kids or your like marquee transfer kids have agents. Now the walk-ons have agents. I mean, you're like, everybody has an agent. It's insane. And what's really bad about it is these agents rip off these kids. It really pisses me off.
So like,
I mean, these agents make like 10 to 20%. And it's not going to change how much they're going to get from me. And so all they're doing is giving their money away.
wow.
I mean, so like standard NFL fees, 3%, correct?
3%. Yep.
What in the world is making them justify 10 to 20% in college football?
I think the answer is because a lot of them aren't going to make the NFL, and so, you know, and the amount of money that they're going to get in college may not be much either. So that agent wants to justify their time. And so, you know, it's, you know, if a kid's going to make $25,000, an agent doesn't want to, you know, what's 3% of 25 grand, like $750 or something?
Yeah, sure. It's not worth plus hours to them that they got to spend trying to find that guy a deal.
Yep.
I suppose that's true, but man, I don't.
I mean, do you think that the agent actually ends up getting these kids more money than if the kid was just negotiating on their own behalf?
Almost never.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking, I get it in the pros when you're talking the difference between $40 and $50 million contracts, sure, but like, you know, we're talking a few grand here and there, right?
Yep. What I try to tell the kids at Iowa is that when you sign your deal with the agent, you need to tell them to preclude the swarm money from the money that the agent can get. Get a percentage of. But if they, and I don't have a problem if they want to pay them 10% because they got them a deal with Powerade or something on the side. Heck, you know, go get it. That's great. I think that's fair. You pay them something for that. But to basically take 10 to 20% off the top of the money that I'm going to give them, no thanks. I don't think that's fair. And so I tell our kids to try to negotiate that out. But either way, it still seems like a pretty hefty percentage.
Especially because, God, there's so much to this. Every time we're on with you, it's like you have to. I mean, the things that you have to keep up with, Brad, are just unbelievable. It's insane. And now you've got, and we're gonna bring it up in a second here. This is probably gonna be a large part of this year for you. Is how this all works now with Rev Share. And that's crazy, right? But
that has changed my life. That's changed my life dramatically from last year.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hear about that. Could you quickly, as much as you can, I've heard from a couple guys who have described it, but the way the swarm works at Iowa, maybe not like a lot of collectives. You guys have basically set it up where there's a couple tiers, and depending on how old you are in the program. I think before it was like scholarship or non-scholarship, but that's going away, kind of. It's like you can be on a couple levels, and then is it maybe based out by a little bit position, but you're not making all these individual deals with guys. There's sort of a structure in place, and that's why they're going to get what they're going to get.
Yeah. So the way we've historically done it is, and as you guys remember, we have two separate organizations within Swarm.
Right.
And one of them is the 501c3 charity. So that's, Joe Iowa fan who wants a tax deduction for giving, $20 a month. They donate to the collective. And what that money does is it helps pay. It's really kind of the base benefit for these guys.
Yeah.
And depending upon what year you are in the program will determine what your opportunity is in that regard. Obviously, the longer you've been in the program, I should say how about you're in school or you're playing football? So like, for example, Nick Jackson wasn't with the freshmen when he showed up in terms of what he was getting, right? He was a 4+ year guy.
Yeah.
So he gets the same as if he had been here his entire career. But the freshmen get the lowest tier, and actually walk-ons below that. There you go. And then there you go.
Hey,
I'm sure the walk-ons are happy to be getting it.
We would have taken a Ponchero's burrito, man.
And so
that's what we got when we did the Iowa Women's Football Club or
Academy.
Yeah. We got lunch at the end of it.
There you go. And you probably haven't been to the facility lately, maybe, but every time I've gone there and I've had their meals, I'm like, guys, this is fantastic. This isn't like this wasn't like Reno Hall food like I had when I was there at Iowa. I mean,
it's great.
This stuff is really good.
Yeah.
And the walk-ons get that too, by the way, in case people don't know that. Everybody in the facility gets to eat the same stuff. Anyway, so you have those different levels depending upon your tenure in college football or basketball. I'm talking about football now. And then you have the Swarm Inc., which is more of a business, sort of the business side of it, where corporations or donors who have businesses donate get the tax deduction for marketing purposes. And there's usually around 20, 25 guys on the roster, at least, that are getting that money extra. And that's really where, and those 25 are handpicked, if you will, as you might expect.
Are they handpicked by the donors, I'd assume, or?
Well, they can be. Generally, though, it's yours truly with some
It's
discussion.
like, hey, I think this is who you want to partner with.
Yeah.
You don't have to put it. You don't have to sugarcoat it, Brad. It's the good guys. It's not the snappers. It's not the walk-ons. It's the guys who play. They're forward facing.
It's the guys that are moving the needle the most.
Yep.
All of the kids can make. Everybody on the team helps move the needle, but I'm talking about the ones who individually move it the most.
Yeah. They're the most marketable. That's who. It's the ones.
Yes.
Who, yeah.
And so anyway, that's all changing a bit. And the interesting part about it is that with this potential revenue sharing agreement that may or may not go through, if it does go through, it will be litigated substantially and will probably be changed by the courts several times over the next few years anyway. But what's interesting about it is, think about transfers now. The revenue sharing, if it goes through, will take effect July 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's say you're a transfer and you're looking to come to Iowa or anywhere. And now you have, like, before it was sort of me doing the entire negotiation. Right.
Yeah.
And I was the money guy and that was it. Well, now there's the Brad negotiation piece for the first 6 months. Then there's the revenue sharing piece after that for the next 6 months. So the coordination has to be much greater. And I'm not fully in charge anymore of that piece, or if you know what I'm talking about. Since fully in charge is really kind of I didn't mean to sound conceited about it, but I had more of a role there. Now it's revenue share and Swarm in combination determining what a person's going to make in the next, for the next 12 months. And that's become a real interesting piece. And quite frankly, I think that the market has bloated itself because of this fact where a lot of the collectives, not us, but there's a lot of collectives out there that are they're emptying their buckets, so to speak.
because they feel like they're getting that 20 million or whatever. You're like,
they think they're going away on June 30th, and so whatever monies they have, they're just pouring it in. And so that drives up prices for these transfers. I think these transfers are getting better deals than they could ever imagine because of this interesting nuance that's going on this year.
So like these you think these schools are trying to get all the money out the door now, get their guys in the facility, in the program, and then once the House settlement goes through, that the university is just going to start footing the bill for the majority, and they're kind of going to.
I think, and I think that the number of guys that are going to be under my watch, if you will, for lack of a better word, will be fewer than it is now, where I've got the entire program and the base piece, and then I've got the 20-25 that are in the sort of upper echelon group. I could see how I may have the upper echelon group moving forward to some level, but probably not the base guys. It's, you know what I mean? That's the way I sort of envision it in my head working. So we'll see. I mean, we're going to see.
Why would these other collectives think that they're not? Because it's not. This money goes through. Okay, now the universities can pay $22 million across all their sports, or whatever. But collectives are still. You can still be a collective. Like, there's no rule that's outlawing you guys.
No, there's nothing outlawing us. There, depending upon what the settlement language says, the ultimate settlement language says. What could happen, though, is that in exchange for taking the revenue sharing money, I am transferring my rights to my name, image, and likeness to the university in some form or fashion.
Okay.
So I will not be getting anything from a certain collective. Now, again, that could be very much litigated, right?
Sure.
You know, can you really tell me that I can't get both? Right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people who
I think that cat's kind of out of the bag at this point.
Yeah. And so the people who think that the collectives are going away are saying, well, they're gonna give up their rights to get money from you once they take the revenue sharing money. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, you gonna tell me that Caitlin Clark couldn't still sign with State Farm if she was getting revenue sharing money from Iowa? I'm pretty sure that.
I mean, she would have gotten a quarter of all of the university's rev share just by.
Yeah. These athletes at Iowa are glad that Caitlin's gone, because she would have been.
Well, it's interesting though, and so, you know, now under the revenue sharing rules, proposed revenue sharing rules, any deal that comes in over $600 has to go through a clearinghouse, you know, where Deloitte, this random company Deloitte, is going to tell us whether that deal with that person, that student athlete, is worth the money. It is an appropriate amount for, you know, for the deal, which I think is absolutely obscene. So Deloitte is going to now decide, effectively, the NCAA is now going to decide what someone's market value is. How do you think that's going to work in court?
Not well.
Not well.
Poorly.
That doesn't sound very capitalistic of me.
I just, you know, I look at that and I just laugh and shake my head and go, who do we think we are here? Like, does anybody have any common sense out there? Like,
is there a
chance?
Not gonna be, is there a chance that is just a front to say, oh yeah, we're looking them over, and they're just going to allow everything to happen?
Well, we'll see, right? I mean, all it's going to take is one rejection.
Yeah.
And then here come the attorneys, right?
Yeah, it's going to be hell.
Because a court is going to say, we all know this, a court is going to say a person's market value is what somebody's willing to pay them to do
Absolutely.
something. Period.
I mean, you look at the NFL players, right? They get millions of dollars of contracts, and they do all their marketing stuff on the side still, and it doesn't stop them from doing anything.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And, you know, it's interesting. I talked to Kirk yesterday, and one of the things that he said that I thought was very insightful is he's like, you know, guys, he's like, Brad, we have a model here with the NFL, and it works pretty well. Why are we not, like, why aren't we paying attention to what they're doing?
Yeah.
And maybe since this is becoming the minor leagues for the NFL, why aren't we kind of dovetailing off of their rules, which we know are legit and actually work?
As far as like tampering and all that stuff.
I mean, and he's exactly right. And it may be that's where we ultimately end up. We have collective bargaining. We have, all of the same types of rules that the NFL has. Just seems like we may ultimately head that direction, but it may take a lot of pain and suffering until that happens.
So here's my question. With revenue share, all but coming, we'll see how this settlement, if it passes or whatever. Are the athletes going to be employees now of the university?
Great question. In my view, yes, but I'm not sure that I will tell you that there's a definition of employee that's maybe not exactly what you think, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure if they technically will qualify for, as employees. I'm thinking the answer might actually be no. But again, it's going to depend upon the language, depending on how it all works out. But if you're an employee, for example, then you're entitled to some level of benefits. You're entitled to certain things that maybe a 1099 contract employee might be entitled to, which 1099 employees are not entitled to benefits. For
sure. Okay. I can see them being like trying to, independent contractors, so they don't have to pay benefits or.
That's right. Or pension or all of that stuff that might actually come into
comp down the line or whatever.
Yeah, all of those things that could come into play. Yeah, think about that. Workers' comp. Holy cow, they're getting hurt on the job.
huge liabilities down the line, right?
Right. So that's yet to be determined, but I think effectively they will be, but technically maybe not. If I was to bet, we'll see.
Interesting. And then the other thing, so as far as you say that you're going to kind of take a step back, or you're ideally, or you think you will take a step back from like the base, payouts to guys. Who's going to be in charge of distributing rev share from the university side? Is it going to be the GMs on the teams?
Yeah.
So it's going to be Tyler, probably.
So like Tyler on the football side, and and he's taken over, really that role already, where he's got his list of who's making what from revenue share, and obviously I have to work with him on the swarm side, so he kind of knows what a kid's total package is. Mm-hmm. And of course the agents are, as you can imagine, wanting as much of their student athletes' money. They want it all up front, of course, right? So that becomes this big negotiation, and some of it's fun the first time, and then
real quick, huh?
Yeah. Kev, we gotta. I think I've said this before, but we just gotta become NIL agents for Iowa and just take over.
What? And then we're just gonna pepper Brad here for
we'll
needle him left and right.
No. We'll undercut him, and then we'll just make our money by
undercut the agents out there. Okay.
Yeah, and tell all the Iowa athletes, guys, just be with us. We played for KF. We know this program. We're cool. We're gonna take less than the other agents, and we'll just have like 50 or 60 athletes on our roster, and that'll make us our money. And then,
Brad, is this a sustainable business
model?
You
might be onto a good business model, to be honest with you, Tyler.
To be honest,
we'll talk tomorrow, Tyler.
Okay. I don't know if I can handle it. I really don't. I
probably can't.
This drives me crazy. Brad, I get the sense that for you, with your math mind and you being a numbers guy, some of this you probably nerd out on a little bit. It's like very cool for you.
Oh yeah. Trying to project how much money I'm going to raise versus what I'm going to pay out, and that's actually that's what's made this job really a bit of an adrenaline rush for me, because in my regular business, I have all the money ahead of time before I'm spending anything. Now, just like a regular charity, I'm making promises, and then I got to go raise the money.
Yeah.
And
it's like it's kind of like going all in on a hand of poker, knowing you don't have another rack to buy in with.
That's right. That's right. Or having a putt on the last hole for $1,000 and you've got $50 in your pocket and the guy's twice your size.
Yeah, money's in the car. Let me just go.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Double
right.
or nothing.
Yeah.
Can I go all the way back to the two arms of the swarm? This is kind of unrelated after we got off on the topic, but how much of the Swarm Inc. side, where you're dealing with the businesses, it's that upper echelon, it's that quarter of the team, that's 25 guys, 25% basically of the team, who's the most marketable. How much of that, how much of those financials are random and just kind of come to you guys versus how much are you actually delegating? Like, we're trying to seek out this much on that side of things on a consistent basis.
Let me make sure I got your question. So when we're out looking at players, we have a sense. Now, granted, the next agent that tells the truth might be the first one, but you get a sense for what the market is for a certain player.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out, are we going to have the funding for that?
Yeah.
For that type of student athlete? Like, there's, remember the Tennessee quarterback, the guy that kind of roasted us in the bowl?
Oh, yeah.
Nico.
I think the rumor was he's getting $7 million, right? Well, if Tyler could make a phone call and say, "Hey, we got $7 million for this quarterback," and I would respond, I wouldn't even call him. I would text him, "Absolutely not." But you kind of get a broad sense for really what your budget is or what you feel like you can project to be able to raise from your donor base, and then you figure out, okay, Tyler, what are your needs? We got this many positions, and this is what this one's going to cost. This is what this one's going to cost, and you kind of start to budget, and then it gives him an idea of what type of student athlete he's going to go after. Okay, we're going to try to get a quarterback. Well, that $7 million one isn't even worth a phone call, for example.
Right.
But my goal this entire time has been, I don't want finances to ever come in the way of us going after who we want.
Yeah.
I can tell you that they don't want a $7 million quarterback. They're not that interested in a seven. I know that sounds crazy, but
no, that was we had the conversation on here. Like, we should not go spend several million on a quarterback. Like, we need to get the guy who's right for us for, and maybe, who knows? I mean, you can give me the exact Mark Gronowski number after the podcast, Brad. I won't tell anybody, I promise. But like, we can go get him for whatever we got him for, but like, let's not get one of the top 3 guys that's going to demand $2 or $4 or $6 million.
Like half our war chest or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's what you got to be smart about, right? You got to be able to and revenue share is going to be a big player in that too. You guys talk about geeking out over the numbers, and this is kind of the stuff I kind of get a kick out of is when Tyler's trying to figure out how much do you pay these guys versus somebody else. To give you an example that I find interesting is like Phil Parker uses, Kevin, I mean, I have to tell you that he doesn't like to put his corners out on an island like maybe other programs would. Well, it's likely, and I don't know, this is projecting because we don't know what everybody else is doing, but my guess is that if they're putting corners out on an island, they might be willing to pay their corners more than a school like Iowa would when we're playing a different type of defense. If that makes any sense. And again, I'm using
different programs
speculative.
Different programs have different values on their players based off how they use the position. Sure.
And you could probably use tight end as another example, right? Historically, we're going to probably put a bigger value on tight end than USC is, who's more interested in throwing to the Keyshawn Johnsons of the world. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So it'll be interesting.
Every time you answer a question, it opens up 12 more boxes. That just seems, I mean, you've got to be on the phone all the time.
Yeah, a lot of time. There's a lot of phone calls. Although less this year than last year. Last year it was pretty intense for me. I think this year Tyler Barnes took the brunt of everything. Because he's a revenue share. He's a new GM. So
I was just going to say, so his life, you say your life has changed. His life has changed.
His life, yes, has gotten a lot worse from the standpoint of, what he's having to deal with, for sure.
That's awful.
I mean, have they created a new position? Because I feel like that's more than a one-man job now. Like he's got to have at least a couple guys with him.
He's got people underneath him, but I think they've created. I mean, if you look at his title last year versus this year, I think GM is in his title this year in some capacity. I don't know exactly what his title is, but he's more the GM now versus like director of recruiting.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that has, I think he's definitely, his role has definitely increased within Iowa football. And I would imagine that, Iowa basketball is going to have their own GM, and maybe women's basketball and wrestling. I mean, I could see all of those sports specifically having their own GM.
Well, you bring up wrestling. We just got this kid Bo Bassett for $5 billion. I saw it online. It's got to be true.
I also heard we paid Cade. I also heard we paid Cade McNamara over $1 million. So I'm not sure what I'm believing at this point.
Speaking of other sports, have they kind of duked it out as to what sport gets what percent of the university's rev share yet?
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So every school gets to decide their own.
Right?
And so what is that going to look like?
I mean, I think the basic answer would be what percent of revenue do you bring in? That's what percent you get to share.
But some of them don't bring in any.
That's right. And so up until well, if you remember, you probably don't remember because you're following us like I am, but there was the Biden administration had issued something that suggested that Title IX would apply to the revenue sharing, and so the $20+ million would be split equally between men's sports and women's sports. Okay. And then I think it was just today, or maybe it was yesterday. My days are starting to blend together here, but the Department of Education came out and stated that they don't believe that the revenue sharing money, that Title IX applies to the revenue sharing money. So the way I expect Iowa to do it, again, this is speculation because there's not been anything published, and Beth is keeping this all pretty close to her vest. But the speculation is that football, basketball, women's basketball, and wrestling will get the 99% of the rake, if you will. And there may be some minor sports that get some, if you've got a great golfer or something in there, that deserves something.
I mean, Nebraska is going to spend a decent chunk on volleyball.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure the SEC schools won't spend a dime on wrestling, but they'll give their baseball players a lot of money.
Yeah. I remember when I was talking to the Auburn collective. I think it was the Auburn guy. I think it was Auburn. They have a fishing program, and so they have NIL money for fishermen there. I thought,
oh my god,
yeah. That sounds like a pretty good college experience. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, can you imagine getting all your bait and lures and rods and reels for free?
Hey brother, we got you a new boat this year.
Going out ripping some wood,
amazing
to do it.
That is insane. That's crazy. I had a buddy who roped in college in Oklahoma.
Oh really?
Yeah. He was rodeo. So like, imagine you're just like, yeah, we'll give you $20,000. Come down here and rope some calves, man.
We'll get you a bigger belt buckle.
Oh, they love belt buckles. They love those things. So you do have to very much so be lined up with Tyler Barnes now, because you don't want to go and tell this kid, hey, this is what you're going to get from the swarm, or here's your opportunity here. Or Barnes doesn't want to go and say, hey, you're going to get this much. And then together you come together and you're like, here's what we were going to do. Here's what we were going to do. And now you've overpromised him and you're like, that's too much, or that's not enough.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like I said, I think you're onto it, Tyler, in that this year, especially, it's there's 50%. The first 6 months are mine. The next 6 months are his.
Man.
And whatever he doesn't want to pay in the next 6 months or can't pay in the next 6 months is mine. Right. So it's sort of a, but he can't pay anybody until July 1.
So is the rev share, is that projected to only be able to happen during the season? Like you can, like, kind of like NFL, you get your game check every week, or what?
They can do whatever they want.
Okay.
And the other thing that's interesting that you guys might find interesting is that it seems as if on the rev share side, you can put performance incentives, whereas in my NIL stuff, generally, it's been that you can't pay based on performance. I can't say, hey, you dropped a pass last week, I'm not paying you this week. I can't do that. But in the rev share side of things, if the GM wants to, put bonuses for wins, bonuses for some individual, we expect you to do X, Y, Z, ABC, they can put incentives in their contracts, just so like anybody, like players and coaches get.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's good. I think
that's great, because like if you have a guy like, hey, I think we want to go after this guy, but he's got a little bit of an injury problem. Yeah, you can make that on the rev share side. It's like, hey, we need 10 games out of you to get your full package or whatever.
I think you're right. I think that though that you got to be a little careful, right? I mean, you don't want to say to a wide receiver, I expect this many catches and this many yards and this many touchdowns, or you're not getting X or what. I mean, that's why the NFL does it. I get it, but there's danger in that too, which is, you
get some people very unhappy with the amount of targets they're getting.
Yes.
It creates a bad locker room environment.
It becomes more about the individual accolades than winning a football game. And as you guys know better than anybody, Kirk is all about winning. He just wants to win. He doesn't care whether it's whether it's 6-4 or 41-35. He wants to win.
Yeah, I think in college you stay away from the stat incentives, but like I think the availability incentive is maybe good. Like we need you at least playing the game. I mean, not to get too deep into it, but the Iowa Hawkeyes ran into that a little bit this year, or at least there was some speculation on a few guys like, he's sitting out. There's
no
a couple
question.
Guys not playing.
No question.
It seems like he maybe could play.
Yeah. But let's go back to the agent discussion, and you can probably read between the lines on some of that stuff. These agents are, it drives me crazy. These kids will listen to their coaches, work their butts off, get to Iowa or anywhere, right? Whatever school they're at. Listen to the coaches, get wooed by an agent, and then suddenly the agents, they're listening to the agent and not giving a damn about what the coaches are telling them, the people that help them get to where they are. And the agent says, you know what, maybe I think we've got enough film here. We're good. These agents, I'll just say these agents are giving some of these players advice that isn't in the best interest of their team at all, and really not in the best interest of the kid long term. And I just hate seeing it. And some kids act on it, some kids don't. And I think in our case, a lot of our guys have injuries, and so it's not as egregious as I've seen elsewhere. But yeah. I mean, in my last 12 months, I've started to believe that many agents are the root of all evil.
Speaking specifically for the Iowa guys, is there like a handful of guys that represents the majority of the players? Or are you dealing with 100 different agents?
There's a lot now.
There's going to be 2 more tomorrow, Brad.
Yeah, this may be the last episode of the Washed Up Walk-Ons. It'll be,
it'll be the walk-on agency tomorrow.
That walk-on agency.
We actually take a quick break to talk about the way that we've got our reparations on here, our NIL post hoc, and that's by just clinging on to any relevancy we still have left and any business that will support us on here, and that right now is Eagle Point Solar. You can see it down here on the bottom, Brad. People are willing to give us money as well to rep their company. And
Excellent.
right now we have a solar company who's just trying to save people a little bit of money. We thank them for supporting the show. 30-year warranty on these solar modules. Down there in Florida, you could get a lot of sun. Still in Florida, right?
I am, and I've got a house with solar panels on it.
Look at that.
I will endorse the solar
It's
idea.
no better guest for tonight's episode then, or for an episode during this month. Who knows how much money you could save? The solar company, when they ran me through all this stuff, they like to call it the cost of doing nothing. Right now, you're paying the energy company, you know, you're at their will. They send you the bill. You're like, all right, that's what I got. If you do nothing, you're going to continue to pay that amount of money. What if you could be saving money on your monthly bill by having those solar panels up on your house? Who knows? Eagle Point Solar, they're asking you to go to their website, sign up for their free solar analysis. You just send them a copy, I believe 12 months worth, basically last year of your bills, kind of your setup, your address. I mean, these guys have done over 4,000 installs. They know what they're doing. Everything's in-house. They'll give you a free $200 gift card just for doing the solar analysis. And hey, you could be someone who saves money. Maybe you aren't, but maybe you are. You could be like Brad, but without all the NIL bullshit. You don't have to worry about any of that. You just got free solar energy and you're just living off the sun, baby. Come on now. Shout out to EPS, eaglepointsolar.com. Tell them we sent you. Tell them the Walk-Ons sent you. Speaking of Walk-Ons, Brad, are they even a thing anymore? What does that even look like?
RIP.
That, yeah, there's going to be, they're still going to be on 85 scholarships. So I think we've decided that. I don't know that, and I think the SEC is mandating it. I don't know if the Big Ten has yet. I don't think they have. But I think that our intention, from what I understand, is that we'll be at 85 scholarships, but we'll have 105 on the roster. So there's going to be 20 others. But I would suspect that those 20 others will have some form of compensation that might certainly make them feel like they're
to the level at which they would at least be covered for the room, board, and everything a scholarship would do.
One might think that. Yeah, I've not looked at all of the number. I don't know exactly what they're all getting, but I think that's the general concept, is that if you're on the 105, you're probably going to get something.
I wonder then, like, if obviously the idea is that either Rev Share or Swarm Fund's going to kind of bridge the gap between not having a scholarship or having a scholarship. If those 20 guys are going to be more likely to be in state due to the cost differences in those.
I don't think that we're necessarily, from what and talking to Tyler, I don't think that that's necessarily a factor. They want the best. They want the best 105 they can get.
That would have been an issue.
I will. No, I mean, here's what I will say too, is that there were some tough conversations, and there are people that they really wish they didn't have to say goodbye to, because they thought they still had, the potential for upward trajectory that would get them on the field ultimately. And so that's actually, I thought that was a bit of a blow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it sucks. It's absolutely going to crush. I don't know what the roster number is, but it's usually around 120, 25.
Yeah, or 130. Yeah, but now at the same time, we also might end up getting some players in the 85 to 105 range that are pretty high quality players, because we're able to give them, the FCS, they're not getting full scholarships all the time. So it could be that we're able to pay a kid that would have taken that 50% ride at North Dakota or whatever, and we're getting them at Iowa for, more.
Right.
We can give them more money, and they may be a better player.
Kevin and I had a conversation a couple episodes ago about, you start to do the numbers on what with a roster limit, you now care about room limits, position limits, right? It's like you're filling out a fantasy football roster.
Yeah.
And,
For sure.
in my case, it becomes very apparent for the specialists. Like there was several times where I had 2 or 3 other long snappers in the room. There was, I think at one point we had 4 long snappers, 4 kickers, and 4 punters. There was 12 in the room, and that's going to be cut in half. I mean, it's going to be 2 at each position.
I would think so, and I think that the guys that are more versatile are going to be more valuable, right? I mean, you get an offensive lineman who can play all positions, all 5 positions, or 6, I guess it is. Is it 6? No, it's 5. 5 positions. You try and play football. All 5 positions. That's going to be more valuable than a guy who's just a left guard, for example. And you're right to your point about specialists. We'll probably have a second kicker. Probably there certainly won't be a third. And if somebody else can do long snapping and do something other than long snapping, I think that might be something that that gives us an extra spot somewhere else.
Oh my God, we're gonna have to. So we're making a Save the Walk-On T-shirt. It's coming out soon. It's gonna
Save the Walk-On. Yeah, no, I'm being a little bit facetious. No. I know what you do. Is
no, but you're
100%
correct. It almost shifts back to the other way. So Casey Kreider still playing in the NFL. Hope to have him on soon. Actually, the guy before him, and even Casey was a converted D lineman, like walk-on D lineman. The guy before him was same thing. He was a lineman that just knew how to snap. And back before that, going back to the 80s, it was basically like, hey, there's a guy who plays line and also knows how to long snap. And it could just go back that way. There could just be tight end long snapper hybrids. And we're gonna have to make a Save the Long Snapper shirt. God damn it! I'm gonna have to
basically to the parents out there listening, teach your kid how to long snap. I don't care what position they play.
Yeah, facts. But also hope that they're like 6'3" or 4, 220 and can run, because that's gonna give them a chance. And my kids have no shot. So, but it's so. You don't have to disclose any information, but a lot of hard conversations. Is Iowa there? It's the rules by camp, right? I imagine a lot of kids, and Iowa probably from their side wants to be up front as early as they can be, because they want to be helpful to these kids. Like, hey, we want you to go and find a spot if we maybe don't think you're going to be here. But also, man, that's quick to figure out who your 105 is, especially before spring ball. That's tough.
Yeah, there's some kids though that want to come in here in the spring and compete and see if they can
respect that. Yeah,
make a go. There also can be some kids that are in the 2 deeps that or just outside the 2 deeps that are scholarship guys that decide they want to leave after the spring because they're getting passed up. There's going to be some interesting position battles out there this spring that may alter the trajectory of the roster, and some guys that may be on the outside looking in right at the very moment may end up finding themselves inside after spring.
Can you imagine how? Competing for a spot in spring ball and camp is stressful enough, but can you imagine you're actually playing for your roster spot now?
Hey, NFL baby.
It's seriously, but
18, it's becoming more and more like it every day, right?
18 and 19 years old, man, that's just different, though.
It starts to get a little bit more
cutthroat. You remember the anxiety of cover drill, you're about to do your cover drill. Can you imagine your roster spot might be on the line based on how you perform that rep?
Yeah, your film reps are now. It's a lot more than just your pride. It's like, hey, buddy, you're.
So let me ask you guys this: would it have made it more stressful, or would it have mattered to you if money was also on the line back when you were doing this?
Man, probably more. It definitely doesn't make it less stressful. I don't know. My biggest fear was always or anxiety is because we watched all these reps on film in front of the entire team. It's don't look like an idiot, man. Just do a good rep. I don't want to get called out in front of the entire team for a shitty rep.
Yeah, it's hard for me to answer that because I was never in a real spot. I was so lucky with where the depth chart fell, and I was basically given a position and said, "Hey, just as long as you're not terrible, you're gonna be the guy." And I was good enough at the beginning, and then got better. And I think
then you're catching passes.
Then I'm catching passes, which we installed way too late, just underutilized. I can't believe we didn't throw me in the passing game.
You know, I thought that too. In fact, I was wondering when they would.
Most people were asking the question, why are we not throwing 97?
I mean, this play is averaging us 15 yards a snap. So why haven't we gone back?
Why don't we go to it multiple times a game? I mean,
and you saw that they did after that. We threw like a swinging gate to Hawkinson. I think Rastetter threw a pass to AJ Epinesa. We started to get exotic after I proved that, hey, we're athletes, you know.
Woods was on something there for a couple of years.
he's put him away in the bag.
He's gone quiet for a little bit, but I think he's rolling.
Well, there was also a time when KF was like, remember the year when KF just went rogue, like super aggressive that year, where it was like all of a sudden it's 4th and goal from the 7, and we're going for this, and I'm just like, wait a minute, what are we doing? Like, what? This is Kirk having an out of body experience here? I mean, I don't remember what year that was. But I distinctly remember thinking,
18
wow, we're going for this.
I think it was like 18.
Couple questions from our subscriber base. We've got some we call them the walk-on army around here, which again, I guess we're gonna have to.
Sure.
Someone asks, why isn't the Swarm drink sold in Kinnick Stadium? It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have. Okay. Yes. So there's 2 ways you can help us on game day. One, the Swarm beer is located at most of the concession stands. It's either on tap or in cans, so you can buy it there. They also have the Swarm seltzers, I believe, in many cases around in the concession area. And then I know this doesn't sound like much, but if you can round up whether you buy Swarm anything or not, or just buy some nachos or popcorn or something, you can just round up, and all of those monies go to Swarm. I'm not sure if they're going to if Airmark is going to agree to my new pricing, which has every single thing costing something in 1 cent.
You round up 99 cents every time.
Yeah, I get 99 cents every time.
I misread the question. The person asked, why isn't the Swarm water sold in Kinnick?
Swarm water. You know, Swarm water is something that is just kind of getting some traction. I think it's just being sold in Des Moines areas. Like the Quick Trips, I think, have it. So anybody out there in Des Moines, go out to Quick Trip and grab some Swarm water. Yeah. And, you know, it's the answer to the question, though, is that Iowa has a contract with Coca-Cola, and Dasani is a Coke product. So putting Swarm out there would be trampling on the rights of Coca-Cola, and that's a no-no.
Yeah,
so
you probably don't.
That's the answer there.
I mean, Coke's got a lot of money and lawyers.
So many Dasani water bottles back in the day.
Oh yeah, we sure did. Another question.
I was trying to get it in the facility, and I haven't been able to do that.
Another question was, have you ever looked into other local retail opportunities like frozen pizza or grocery stores, Swarm clothing in Shields, all that stuff? Do you care? Yeah.
I have. And you know, at some point I'm like, okay, are we kind of diluting the brand here a little bit? If all of a sudden you're going in and you're seeing, you know, frozen pizzas with the Swarm logo
Iowa
on
State
it,
does that, I think.
You know, I just feel like sometimes that cheapens it a bit, but you know, that's my own opinion. To some level, maybe I should be a little bit more welcoming to those ideas, because I've had them pitched to me, and I know by the same group that Iowa State did, and I said no, and they said yes.
I mean, part of that
it just didn't feel right to me.
Every new thing you add on, the operation just gets bigger and bigger. Are you guys still a super lean op over there? Are you 3 people still? 2.
Me and a full-time employee. So I've got one person on my payroll, and
it's got to be the leanest. That's got to be the leanest collective in all the country.
Well, it allows us to give a higher percentage of the donors' money to the kids, and that much I'm pretty proud of. I think we're over 90% of the monies that get donated to the swarm actually make it to the student athletes. So to me, that's really doing part of my job is to take donors' money and be good stewards of it. And I feel like I'm doing them a disservice if I'm, taking 30 cents off the top, of every dollar, and the kids don't get as much. So I'm trying to do my best to, translate as much one-to-one as I can, donor monies and
I think that's pretty impressive. I think like the average nonprofit in the country is like only 30 cents on the dollar makes it to the actual cause or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's higher than that for good ones, for reputable ones. But I think that if you compared us to, most charities, people would raise their eyebrows and go, "Oh, it's not bad."
I'm sure the guys on the team appreciate it.
Yeah, there's always some that do. Most do. There's always some that don't, right? Everybody's overworked and underpaid.
Again, right? It's going to be, from our perspective, we're coming from like, we're just trying.
We had to buy our own food for the first 2 years, man. Like these, from our perspective, these kids could not have a better possible college experience.
There is a post hoc NIL thing coming our way though, maybe, which is cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cool. I don't know. It's not. I mean, it's a good chunk. We love it. The kids now over at Iowa, the guys on the team would probably be like, "That's all you're getting." Like, bro, we don't have NIL deals like you guys do now.
Do you think that the social media though makes the college athletic experience much tougher?
I mean, we had it obviously, but it wasn't.
I would think so.
It wasn't as toxic back then, probably.
Yeah, I have a hard time. Yeah. Yes, but you can always turn it off. I mean, it's not like someone's forcing you to use it either.
Yeah, Kirk had that.
Oh yeah,
didn't he have the policy?
We didn't have Twitter.
You had to be off
we could have it. We just couldn't tweet.
So you just had to read it and shut your mouth.
Yeah,
that's kind of what you guys had.
I never found it that hard.
Like Josie Jewell and actively seek it out.
Yeah. Just search his name after the name. Josie sucks.
I'm gonna find this guy. Pretty much. Hey, listen, I had somebody. What was it? I had somebody after we didn't get the first quarterback, the kid from Penn State, the Prabula guy, tweet at me that I needed to be literally, I needed to go to jail.
Could have been Grant. It might have been Grant up here in the other corner.
Yeah, that was my burner account. Sorry. So sometimes after when it gets late, I just fire away. I'm not thinking too much. It just happens.
This Brad guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Needs to hear the bars clink.
You've been awful. You've been awful quiet.
Yeah,
Grant. I know what's coming. You're gonna hit me.
Oh no, I don't have zingers. I don't know what that means.
Grant we can actually credit Grant. Whatever money you guys gave to the incoming transfers in the portal this past couple months, we can credit Grant as well. He did a lot of social recruiting work. A lot of he was retweeting all their highlights, and
it's a grassroots really thing we're doing here online. Yeah,
I actually saw a couple of those. Didn't you have? Who did you have? Did you have Gronowski on there?
He was retweeting every Gronowski.
We're firing away.
If there's any chance that anybody's going to come to Iowa, he just tweets out, "Mark Gronowski, you are an Iowa Hawkeye."
Yeah, we have to. It's all about a little recognition. All right, you got to start putting the ideas out there. It's like a Inception, but for NIL and transfer portal stuff.
I've got a question. One more question for you, Brad, before I let Grant ask really actual quality questions. In this craziness, and I suppose maybe it's the agents now, it's maybe not the kids specifically, but you're not supposed to before you're in the portal, you're not supposed to be talking to anybody. We know that shit is way out the window. I have to imagine that Iowa is still cleaner than almost every other school in the country on doing things the right way. Still though, you can't control outside interest from maybe reaching out to you, or the coaches can't control that. Have you ever been contacted by like a player, you specifically, or the Swarm specifically, or by an agent that's like trying to like gauge interest in like, hey, we no?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
of
Okay.
course. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And what do you say as someone who does this clean? You're like, hey, you gotta go, or do you not respond at all?
I might say I'll either. A lot of times
Sure.
it's no response at all. But sometimes I'm kind of like, hey, you know, your dude gets in the portal. If he's as good as you say,
then we'll take a look.
You know, I'm sure we'll be happy to take a look. Yeah, we'll talk. But you know, sometimes they say the name, sometimes they're not saying the name. Sometimes they're describing somebody that could only be one person. You know, that's weird how that's all played. That's all played. But yeah, you know, these agents they will float names of players out there that they represent and find out what the appetite is to try to figure out what the market is for them if
They're
they were
shopping their
to enter
guys.
the portal. So then they go to the kid. Exactly. That happens. It's just happening all the time. You know, and I'm sure it happens for our kids too. And then you have, you know, I'll leave you this one story. You know, we had a kid that had a pretty good year for us. He's coming back, and an SEC school, big shock, was, you know, hammering his DMs, and I shouldn't say the school. It was more of, I think, you know, representatives that maybe collective people or whoever else, not like the head coach, but, you know, somebody who's representing them, you know, throwing numbers at them, you know, and then our kids like, then all of a sudden they come to me and say, hey, so-and-so is offering whatever to our kid. He's not even in the agent. He's not even in the not the agent. He's not even in the portal, you know. And it's like, well, we got to figure out what we're doing here. Are you guys going to be able to come anywhere near that? Kid wants to be a Hawkeye. He's, you know, just he loves it here, but this is real money, you know. And so you got to try to figure out a way to quickly appease them. Without upsetting the equity in your roster and all of these other things.
There's maybe moments for you. There's maybe moments for you too at some points where potentially you have to be like, "Hey, bud, we don't have it."
Yeah, that's right. You know, or you know what? It's just that doesn't fit our budget. That doesn't fit what we're trying to do here. And you know, we've told people, hey, go to this other school. I mean, they're going to pay you that. Go get it. I don't blame you one bit. Go get it. And, you know, in the one case I'm specifically remembering where we said that, kid's still here.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Leave.
Yeah.
You know, and again, you don't know what's true, what's not true. I'm choosing to believe that he just loves Iowa and the program so much that he turned down all sorts of wild amounts of money to stick around. But anyway, it's interesting. The book will be good.
The tell-all book.
In
I'm gonna
25 years,
whenever right on the shelf.
That story makes me wonder if like there's any crazy like programs out there that are like intentionally doing that to like their like say their rival schools or whatever, just so they can funnel more. Just so that they funnel more cash to the guys on the roster. They can't go after guys who are in the portal or whatever.
Feels like a telethon. I mean, I feel like some of these schools just have like a legion of people, and they give them a list, and they just go and they pepper these kids on other teams. You know, here are the guys from Iowa, here are the guys from Iowa State, here are the guys from wherever. I want you to just, you know, do everything you can to get them to become interested in us. So that's what I think has to be happening, because it just feels from the feedback we get from our players, that's happening all the time. And,
do you think that if like they could implement some NFL like anti-tampering rules, that this stuff kind of goes away, or like is it just the police force?
Yeah, once again, it feels like the NFL kind of has it figured out, right? I mean, you know, it would seem that would make a lot of sense. I mean, these poor kids. I mean, I say poor kids. They're not poor anymore.
You're looking at the poor kids,
but
They have to make tough decisions, neither of which are bad.
Yeah, they're making tough decisions, but the kid's
right.
He's 20 years old. He's and it's happening during the season, not just after the season. It's like happening during the season, and it's really hard to it's hard to believe. Now, what's interesting though is if you look at our track record of people leaving that were difference makers and our track record of bringing in guys, we're not, our turnover, our churn, I'm going to call it, our churn isn't near what other programs are. I mean, you look at some of these programs that are getting 17, 20 kids in the transfer portal. You kidding me?
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I mean, you add 20 kids in the transfer portal to what, 20, 25 freshmen? I don't know how many you're going to have. Like, that's like that's like half of your scholarship kids are new in a year. I mean, you got to put the names on the helmets for a while so you know who the hell these kids are.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a while to build a cohesive program. You can't do it with a bunch of first-year players. My last question for you is rev share agreements. Can those be multi-year? Is like that we can like lock these kids in? Like, hey, you're here for 2, 3 something years, or is it just going to be on a year-by-year basis and like they're free agents every year?
That's going to be an interesting concept. I wish you could have multi-year agreements, but my understanding is that it probably won't be. It'll probably be 1 year deals, so to speak. I think, wouldn't it be nice if just like the NFL, I got them for this number of years, you're locked in, you're going to get paid X dollars, but you're here. You're not going to Michigan. You're not going to wherever. So that I think it's going to be a 1 year deal. But again, April 7th is the big day when I think the judge is going to rule on this. So we'll learn a whole lot more.
We have a friend, not going to mention who has a vital interest in that agreement not being upheld because he forgot to sign up for the litigation.
Oh no!
Yeah,
we'll not name him. He's going into the Hall of Fame of his high school.
Wow.
That's all I know.
Does he have? Is his initials?
It might rhyme with Snake Skulik.
Could be literally anyone though.
Yeah, but it's probably could be anybody. So that was a fun conversation yesterday, and it was just a very him thing to do. But yeah, G-Bone, fire away so we can let Brad sleep. I don't know if he sleeps actually, but
no, yeah, Brad, got a couple of things for you. First one is you mentioned Brad should be in prison or whatever thing earlier. What's something that a lot of people on Twitter maybe are like, oh, I can't believe Brad did this, or how did Brad allow this to happen? That actually Brad Heinrichs has no say over. That it's like this might be new knowledge to people that this is not a part of what you do for Swarm.
Such a good quote. He actually makes you think. I mean, that's an incredible question. I mean,
I was dreading these questions. Things that
let's cut all this
that are maybe misconceptions. Sure. Is that kind of where you're getting at? Well, I'll tell you a big one is where I completely screwed up. I did like this call to arms concept when we thought we were going to have a good shot at getting this kid from Penn State, and I tweet that please give, we're on the precipice of greatness here, and literally 30 minutes after, he calls the coaches and commits to Penn State. And then to make it even worse for me, not only does he do that, but he then posts the Missouri, I'm going, or not to Penn State, commits to Missouri. He's a Penn State kid that went to Missouri. He posts, I'm going to Missouri. It seemed like almost instantaneously after that. And everybody is calling me this complete scam artist.
Oh, man.
That you asked for a whole bunch of money when you knew this guy wasn't coming just to try to get money from us. You deserve to be in prison.
That's tough.
that was one of those where I'm like, oh my God, my timing was so bad.
I will say I was a part. I do, and I'm always happy to donate, but I think I donated 10 minutes before Pipula went somewhere else.
Yeah, and you were MFing
Yeah, and
me
Grant
right
was
afterwards,
actually the
weren't
guy
you?
who
I mean,
told
I
you
get it.
who said you needed to go to prison. So this
Again,
is full circle.
It's a burnout now. Could be anyone. We don't know.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's plenty others. I think a lot of people. One of the other bigger misconceptions, Grant, is just that I am out there eyeing the talent. You know, you're looking at the guy as a Chiefs fan who wanted us to take Deshaun Watson over Patrick Mahomes. I thought he would be better because he'd beaten Alabama and Mahomes hadn't beaten anybody in college. Okay. I thought Ryan Leaf was going to be better than Peyton Manning. I would make a pretty poor talent evaluator. So I'm not the one. I've not historically been the one that's out there looking for guys. I'm the one that tries to make Iowa football or basketball dreams come true once there is some mutual interest. That's my role.
Next question for you is: I remember Odell Beckham Jr. at one point wanted to be paid in crypto, I believe, by team. Has any Iowa athlete wanted to be paid in crypto, like a meme coin, maybe? Has that ever been requested?
Not yet. But as this thing continues to move along, that kind of thing would not surprise me in the slightest. But nothing like that. Because I think the agents don't want to be paid in crypto.
Sure.
They want cash.
That's understandable.
Follow-up question. Does the Swarm drop a meme coin to raise revenue?
Yes.
Oh, you have to
Brad,
pump up that so fast.
Yeah, we're gonna
a
pump
meme
up
coin?
a Swarm meme coin.
If you create it for me, and I'm happy to play ball with you, but I'm an actuary. I don't have a lot of.
We're gonna hawk to a girl
the
entire world on this. We're gonna.
We can put Vodka Sam on
Hell
one
yeah.
side.
That would sell.
And and the Swarm logo on the other, and we'll see how it
and then,
goes.
my last thing is, and I know you just mentioned that you don't want to devalue the brand or anything, but I did bring some ideas for you for how.
This is
how
the
Swarm can
what
potentially make some, just some extra cash just to have around. So
I would love.
And then I just added another one to it, what we just said, but we'll get there eventually. First one is we restore the Hawkeye Express and the tickets go to Swarm. How does that sound? Bring it back.
Sounds
an
amazing.
Incredible idea.
Been asked for a long time. I think like the just loose the loose cars are just somewhere in South Dakota for some reason.
I don't know, but I'm still hoping for the addition to the seat license stuff goes to Swarm, but I haven't won that.
All right,
one
so
yet.
we'll put that down as a maybe. We'll put that as a maybe. This one is a lot of people on Twitter have requested this one too. We sell all of Fran McCaffrey's quarter zips because he keeps tempting us with those beautiful quarter zips. Him and his staff.
Wouldn't you want to have one of those?
They're nowhere to be found. Swarm sells them now. Swarm sells them exclusively.
That would make some coin right there.
I would think so. Although I will tell you that maybe you guys have done really well with it, but apparel just doesn't pay quite like you might hope generally. But maybe you guys have been killing it.
I won't divulge numbers, but I mean we've made some money on apparel. It hasn't been bad. It doesn't support the brand. I mean, by no means are we. Yeah. Am I pulling in a salary on apparel? That's for sure.
It probably raises awareness, which maybe indirectly translates to revenue. But it's in and of itself, we have not. I can tell you that the Swarm has not, profited immensely.
It's sufficient for our purposes. It's not nearly in the realm of the numbers that you need as Swarm.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Makes sense. This was a fun one. I'd like to see a Swarm 50-50 raffle at sporting events. So you see like the ticketeer going around.
I'm ahead of you on that one. So we have our gambling license.
Oh boy.
And that is something that might actually have some legs. It's just a matter of getting this approved. But we have the ability to do this. It's just a matter of whether we can get the powers that be to agree. But this is something that we have been talking about for over a year, and we have the gambling license to do it. Now there's technicalities and doing this at football games, but I think it's being done elsewhere.
Grant's going to become Grant's basically going to become the third full-time member of the Swarm. Follow-up question as far as powers that be go, to circle back around to our conversation before on the last podcast we did. Do I need to secret Ocean's 11 in and steal the season ticket holders list of names yet, or have we made any headway on that? Oh my
I still
God,
don't have it.
Beth.
No, I'm not blaming Beth. She's been very supportive, but I don't have that. Again, I don't get everything I want, but she's been great to work with. I will tell you that.
No, 50-50 raffle would be great. I mean, I would.
That would be cool, wouldn't it? What do you think? What do you think we would get? What do you think we would get?
Well, I mean, at least $50 from me.
I would be dropping a irresponsible amount on the I just love seeing I just love seeing the paper come out of the machine. Honestly, there could just be nothing. It could be all just blanks. I just like seeing the paper.
So you give $1 a ticket? Is that what you do?
You kind of
ticket.
Oh, come on, man! Inflation's gone up. It's got to be at least a couple bucks a ticket.
Yeah.
Couple bucks.
Yeah, I think you should put the stands right inside where the entry gate, so you can just buy one on your way to your seat.
It could be a student job. You just walk up and down the aisles the whole game. Just tickets here, get your tickets. Could be something. Yeah.
I've been trying to get donation buckets put inside a Kinnick where people can just throw cash.
They don't take cash anywhere anymore. So no one's got cash.
I say like a Catholic mass. They're passing around. That doesn't.
Well, I'm fine to put QR codes for Venmo.
How about we
PayPal,
paint
whatever it is,
a QR code on the field?
Sorry, Duke.
For the Swarm.
For the Swarm.
Sorry, Duke Slater. Here's a QR code instead.
That sounds amazing.
How many
I like that.
codes could we put on the screen? Go to check out the Walk-On store. Join the Army. We need one to join the Swarm. We could be helping out Brad here.
So then, real quick though, the last thing we mentioned, the 50-50 raffle. You have a gambling license then. How far are you away then from just saying, hey, a vacant spot downtown, here's 10 blackjack tables.
The Swarm Sportsbook.
Now that would be wouldn't that be fun? Yeah, I think when I say gambling license, I think there's some there's levels to this, guys, right? But that would be lucrative. I don't think we would need any donations if we just put some blackjack tables downtown Iowa City and
overflowing Fridays, Saturdays, Thursday nights.
Iowa Hawkeyes raised $79 million off degenerate gambling.
Yeah. Okay, we'll put that down as another maybe. So we got 50-50 raffle as I'm getting pretty much good to go, and then Casino Express and Pump and Dump meme coin as maybes is what I'm getting.
the meme coin. I'm gonna. I don't have Vodka Sam's number, so I'm gonna have to try to. That might be a some project for somebody else to see if she would consent.
We'll do a walk-on. Yeah. We'll do a walk-on coin. We'll do that.
I appreciate you taking my questions though. My ideas. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah. I can't believe we haven't talked about Mark Gronowski. I was expecting that to be
talk about Mark Gronowski.
I guess you guys have covered that.
Do we got our guy?
I think so. I think so. I think the coaches definitely think so. I think that's it's the whole sometimes you thank God for unanswered prayers. I mean, I think they're thrilled that it worked out the way that it did. That we didn't get the guy we thought we were going to get the first time, and we got who we got. This is an Iowa kid, basically. He's our type of guy. He's humble. He's hungry. He's got a chip on his shoulder, and he wants to prove to everybody that he belongs to play not only in NFL but in the Power 5 level and be successful. And he's highly motivated. Yes, he had surgery, but he's doing great, and I think he's probably even ahead of schedule. So I think everything's. We'll see. You can probably roll back the tape and find where I said that we were excited about Caden.
Everyone else was too. So it is what it is. No, that's good to hear. That's all I needed to hear.
How much was that?
And actually, one of the things Kirk told me yesterday is like he's fired up about all of our transfers. He's super happy with who we've got so far, and I think we may get one or two more maybe after the spring if it works out.
How much was the injury a part of the pre-commitment discussion? Like, do you guys have like a thing where you got like, hey, we just got to disclose like an injury thing going on here? How much does that weigh in? Not just even Gronowski specific. You can even go broad.
Yeah. I mean, again, well, it's not like the NFL where before you even start talking, they have to go and take a physical and all that stuff, right? So it's speed dating. I can tell you that Iowa absolutely knew what they were getting into before we signed any deal with them. Okay. And, is it something that you lead in with when you're a player in the portal? Probably not. Okay. But is it something that you absolutely have to talk about at some point? Yes. And, the surgery he had was not exactly like this kid didn't have Tommy John surgery. All right. Okay. Just to eliminate that Twitter discussion about how they had to reattach his throwing arm, or this isn't what happened. Okay, he had a pretty basic, surgery that almost everybody recovers from fully, and he's going to be no different in that regard. And so there wasn't the risk that the casual fan has been making a big deal out of. And while it would have been nice that if he was taking snaps in the spring, it's actually going to be good for guys like Hank Brown, for example, to get lots of snaps, and Jimmy Sullivan to get a lot of snaps. So I think it's actually going to work out pretty well.
That's all I needed to hear.
Cool.
Yeah, there's your hype.
Brad, thank you so much for your time as always. We love when you come on. The fans love when you come on. This kind of conversation, I think, is something that is only good for everybody because it informs people more about what you guys are doing, how things actually work. It's a candid discussion, and you're forward facing, and it makes it feel more legit than maybe some other places or collectives do. And I seriously don't know if you sleep or not. I assume you could just go off to bed after this, or maybe I don't know. But I hope you do get some sleep because you're doing a lot of good work for the Hawks, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, and it's a real privilege to be on. This is like my third time now, I think, I've enjoyed it every time, and I hope it was.
Oh no, we're gonna we gotta milk you for all we can.
We have to be a part of the book tour at a minimum,
for sure. Yeah, when the book drops, you can definitely come promo that.
Yeah,
25 years from now. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation with Brad. I know you will, or I know you did. And we will be back next time with, I'm hoping we got another guy lined up. I think we got one of the guys that just graduated coming on next episode. So we'll see you then.